Welcome to Sabs podcast. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. My special guest today is Tara Reade. Tara, thank you so much for joining me again.
Thank you. It's so good to see you, Sabby. I've missed you.
I know it's been long. Thank you so much.
I loved that picture of you in that beach chair where it's the giant beach chair.
Oh, yeah.
For anyone who's listening in the audience that hasn't seen it, go on Sabby's timeline. It's really cute. It's a cute picture. Where was that taken?
That was in Vermont. It's right on the lake, on Lake Champlain.
Yeah, it was like a mini Sabby.
All right. Really, so I want to get into what's happening with you recently. For those who may not be aware, let's start from the beginning. Now, from what I understand, you decided to visit Russia, I believe, because your book was actually being translated into different languages. And then it seemed like after that, you received some type of warning from Representative Matt Gaetz that it probably would not be a good idea for you to return to the United States. So let's go ahead and talk about that a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. So I arrived in Moscow May 20th, Saturday, and I was going to have just a vacation and stay the week in Moscow. And I was doing a media on Channel 1. And, that had to do with my book because I was getting my book published. I was adding a couple chapters. They were translating it into Russian. And then we were discussing, possibilities of other things happening with that. And then in the middle of that week, while I was sightseeing, I got information from some former intelligence people that cared but don't want to be involved with the case, but just gave me a warning that when I was because I was setting up in about the middle of the week, I was trying to decide if I wanted to fly out of Turkey or out of Dubai. And for the audience that may not know, you can't fly directly to Moscow right now. You have to take these long flights either out of Dubai or out of Turkey, Istanbul, Turkey, or other places, and so Finland even. And so it's trying to find your venue, right? And my coming into Istanbul was great, but I was thinking about maybe leaving out of Dubai. And anyway, so while I was making that decision, I was trying to book the ticket, and then what happened is I got information that I might get picked up at the airport in Istanbul, Turkey, or in Dubai, wherever. Like there might be what's called red notice Interpol arrest warrants to hold me. It wasn't clear for what. There was discussion about it being for sanctions violations because I took a plane ticket from Channel 1, but Channel 1 is sanctioned, but it wouldn't have counted under that. So that wasn't clear. I do have a sealed case in the United States. They impaneled a grand jury. I still don't know what it's about. So there were some things that were really concerning. So I listened to that, and then I got another secondary opinion. These were both American former intelligence. Then I got then I was supposed to go back and testify before Congress against Biden. And so I contacted Matt Gaetz' office and I said, hey, I want to talk to him. I want to tell him where I am and what's happening. So I was very transparent. He got on the phone and he's like, Tara, where are you? And I said, well, I'm in Moscow, Russia. And he goes, wow, that's unfortunate, because from his perspective, that was a problem. And he basically went on to say that I'd been getting information that I had real security concerns. I might be under arrest or taken in for something, but I wasn't sure what. Could he give me immunity? Could he give me protection if I came back to DC? What could he do? And he said he really couldn't, help me in that way. He could try to find out what he could, but he didn't find out anything. And he did say, Tara, I know how these people operate, and I'm really concerned about your physical safety. And I think, he thought it was best, I was where I was safe, where I was. So, he was very kind. He didn't give me advice. He just gave me information, but he had concerns about my physical safety. And I listened. So it was that and several other things, and then talking to lawyers. And I made the decision to stay in Russia. And then, I was pretty angry about the fact that Biden is operating almost like in a mafia state. And I'm not the only whistleblower that's afraid and has been afraid. And so I'd gotten death threats. I'd gotten all kinds of threats of prison and threats, coming from so-called Democrats, but also just in general, just from, people in the public, who knows who they were, if they were paid or unpaid, I don't know. But the fact remains that, I was being intimidated into silence, and this was wrong. So I did a press conference, Sabby, and I announced, and I went to Maria Butina, whom I've known. She's been on my show a few times, and I know that she was wrongly imprisoned and she was never a spy. There's a good article called "The Spy Who Wasn't," Maria Butina. So look that up, by a very esteemed journalist, who basically, made it clear she wasn't. She was kind of used as a political pawn. And I asked her for help and said, I'm afraid I'm going to be taken into custody. And she went ahead and helped me. And so I applied for asylum, and she's helping me apply for other things with the Russian Federation. And so they've given me sanctuary. At this point, I have temporary asylum right now. So when you get it, yeah.
How long is this supposed to last? I mean, because your family is in the US, correct? How long is this supposed to last? When will you be able to come back to the United States?
Well, that's a good question. And it's one that I really want the answers to. On one hand, with the red notices, the Interpol, we've already, done inquiries into that. So we're waiting to get the answers to find out what countries had them, if any, if Turkey had them, if Dubai had them, whatever happened. Rada Sterling is one of my attorneys, and she's fantastic. And also John Levy out of DC. They're both human rights attorneys and very good at what they do. And we're also trying to get information from the FBI, the DOJ, and the NSA, because John Kirby, as you know, did a press conference about me a couple times. And when he basically said I was perfectly safe to come home, which after my attorney saw the press conference, what he said, yeah, you're not safe to come home. So when John Kirby goes on, it wasn't Jean-Pierre, they trotted out there. It was the head of the NSA. So that was concerning to me. It was sobering. And then I noticed that in the USA Today, there was an ex-CIA agent who said I made him viscerally angry because I talked about the state of the economy, and I criticized the amount of billions going to the Ukraine war, and I criticized that our infrastructure is falling apart in America, and that we have the highest homeless, and that we have high inflation. And this ex-CIA basically went on to say that made him viscerally angry that I critique the US. But I wasn't critiquing the US. I was critiquing the government, and that's specifically the Biden regime, for spending billions and diverting money for their own profit for weapons manufacturing instead of to the American people. And we're all taxpayers. So you know what I'm saying, Sabby? And now since I've come forward, you've seen other whistleblowers go into hiding. You've heard, I'm sure, what's going on. You've heard the way the DOJ has been weaponized. Matt Taibbi's dealing with that, with the IRS, with other things, being threatened with perjury. You have Mike McCormick, who's a whistleblower trying to get his thing forward. And all of this, Biden is just working like the mafia state. Well, now it's about to be revealed how much he lied, how much business dealings, and that's coming up in the next couple of days in those subcommittee hearings. I wish I could get my day in court, in the Congress, and testify before Congress, but I chose my physical safety. And at the time, I don't think they ever would have let me get to testify. I think I would have been held, because now the US can hold someone for up to 18 months without charges. So they could have held me until after the election. So I don't know, to answer your question, Sabby, when I can come back. We're trying to find out. I do know that as long as Biden is in charge and there is this weaponization of the DOJ and FBI, I don't feel safe coming back, and I don't want to walk into a cage.
Well said. So you sent me this article. I want to share this with everyone because I think this highlights a lot that's going on right now. I want to make sure I'm sharing the correct screen here.
Yeah.
I don't know how it pushed me out of here. It says Biden whistleblower Tara Reade files urgent appeal with the UN and seeks asylum in Russia. And this is the section I want to pay close attention to. Tara Reade's attorney has made a special request for urgent appeal under the UN special procedures on the promotion and protection of the right to freedom of opinion and expression. The UN will review documents stating Ms. Reade is a public interest whistleblower who is being unlawfully and politically persecuted by elements of the US government aligned with President Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. Her right to freedom of opinion and expression has been and is being interdicted by politically weaponized law enforcement surveillance bolstered by a coordinated social media campaign, personal threats, and false accusations of treason, perjury, and espionage in the media. Have you heard anything from the UN as of late?
No, nothing, no response yet. But the special rapporteur is supposed to answer. I don't know when their deadline is, but generally within a month or two, and it's been more than that, so hopefully soon. But yeah, I think it's important I get it on the record every way I can, because no one should be treated like this, Sabby. I shouldn't have to be fleeing to another country for safety.
Right.
I shouldn't have to be afraid for my daughter, for my family. And, 3 weeks ago, someone tried to kidnap my horse and then tried to fundraise saying they were saving Charm because I abandoned him and went to Russia. And I was a traitor to America, literally. And they had a trailer at that ranch and almost took my horse. And luckily, law enforcement intervened and the ranch owner intervened and my horse is safe. And then some trolls put my daughter's work online, doxed her, her address, her photo, and went after her. And, it's just continued. And these were Democratic troll farms that have been hounding me since 2019. And, I don't know when it's going to stop. I mean, it's just, I guess when Biden either gets impeached or he has to step down or something. I mean,
Tara,
but, yeah.
how do you feel about, because this is something that was brought to my attention yesterday. There are a number of, or some progressive commentators who were a part of that Bernie Sanders camp, who are now trying to make the plea for Joe Biden, who are trying to make excuses for Joe Biden. And one of the things that I have noticed is that some of those same commentators who were heavily critical of people like Nick Brana for his accusations that are against him. By the way, I interviewed Nick Brana and I interviewed his accuser. They have said nothing in reference to Joe Biden also having sexual assault accusations. It's as if they're purposely ignoring it or they're just forgetting about it. Like, what do you think is happening there? Why are some of these people that were a part of like this Bernie camp all of a sudden trying to make excuses and make the case for supporting Joe Biden, even though there are many criticisms of Joe Biden presidency and how he's failed the American people? Why do you feel they're doing that? Why are they ignoring your accusations that you've had against Joe Biden?
Well, Sammy, I'm going to say something, and it's up to you. I mean, how you feel about it, because I really appreciate how you're very transparent and out front with who you are, and bringing balance. But what you're saying is absolutely right. There are people who are silent about me. I'm a sexual assault survivor that came forward and was just about to testify before Congress and now had to go to Russia. And the Western media painted me as a traitor. A traitor. I'm the traitor. Joe Biden raped me when I was working for him in the Senate on a work day, and he was a senator. And I'm the villain. I'm the traitor. And there's absolute silence or there's smears. And what makes me upset, and I'm going to get specific, I love Katie Halper. I love her. But where is she? Why is she silent? Why is Max Blumenthal silent? Why is Aaron Mate silent? They're talking about Ukraine. They're talking about this. I have lost everything before this. And then on top of it, now I'm under asylum, which means I can't leave these borders. I can't be free. I can't see my child. Well, she's an adult, my adult daughter. I can't go see her. And I don't know when I'll see my pets again while I'm sorting this through. Where is the left media? I mean, RBM's been covering it. You've been covering it. Hill's been covering it. Bree covered it, right? Covered my story. And I appreciate that. And Robbie Suave. And, you know, they might not even understand everything that went on with me, but they're inquiring, where's everyone else? Where is the burning camp? And I don't know Kyle Kalinski's work, but I understand that he's trying to, you know, wash Joe Biden's image. And it's not clean. He's corrupt. I mean, more and more is coming out. There's bank receipts, there's recordings, there's witnesses. At some point, when are these people going to give up the ghost? I don't know. Like, you tell me.
Have there been like, other than I know Crystal interviewed you at one point in time, have there been others that have interviewed you, if not maybe recently, but in the past?
Well, yeah, I mean, I got interviewed by people and they benefited from that with the clicks, right? And then where are they now? I could use their help. I could use their inquiry. I could use a really good journalist, an investigative journalist, to find out what is the sealed indictment against me? Why was there red notices for Interpol? Were there? What countries? And have some help here, some inquiries and some investigation. But, you know, Matt Taibbi has not investigated. Maybe he is. I don't know. Like, he's working on other things. He's working on a bigger picture issue. But there are other journalists that could do that kind of investigative work, like Ryan Grimm. You'll notice, you know, many of the podcasters, you'll notice complete silence. So I really appreciate you, Sabby. I appreciate you because no matter what's going on, you cover it. Like, you don't play favorites. You don't try to politically pander, you know. But where's RFK? Like, how come he hasn't said anything? He's saying things about everything else. And by the way, I know RFK. I've met him once. And I worked as a volunteer for the RFK Memorial. His mother gave me a thank you note personally addressed to me in 1993. So it's not like I'm a stranger. And I spoke to him a few times through his assistants. So he must know my plight. But why is there this silence around me, Sabby? I don't know. Like, why is Biden the sacred cow?
I think RFK Jr. in the end is going to tell people to vote for Joe Biden, to be honest with you. And I think that something else that I've noticed, and Max has pointed this out as well, we haven't seen RFK Jr. appear on any show that has a left audience since he announced that he was running for president. Not one. And all of us have reached out. All of us. And we've all been told the same thing. We're in the queue. But he is not yet, not even on like one of the more friendly, you know, like shows. So it's very weird. It's very concerning. I have my opinion about, I think, what he's trying to do. I think he's trying to bring more people to the Democratic Party, but that's me. But I think that
like Marianne Williamson, right? They're all kind of sheep herding or sheepdogging. I think the term is, sorry, I'm saying sheep herding, sheepdogging, people, the independents. And I think in RFK's case, you've hit it on the head, but also he's trying to get the Trump voters. He's trying to get some of those that were like, we're going to go with Trump because they didn't want to go with you know, the traditional MAGA, you know, or whatever it is, you know, and so get some of those voters. So he was trying to swing some votes, right?
Right.
And then you're right, he'll give them over to Joe Biden because they signed the loyalty oath. In the end, when you run on the Democratic platform, you sign the loyalty oath. That's what Bernie Sanders did. And that's what RFK will do.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's absolutely true. This is why more people need to hear your story and hear like what's happening, because I do feel like they are effectively, not just YouTube, but all of the platforms are trying to effectively silence you and your story and your voice. And I have no doubt in my mind, if the roles were reversed, and let's say it was Donald Trump who was sitting in that position, and your accusation was against Donald Trump, Democratic Party and liberal media would eat this up and they would have you on every single platform. So it shows you the problem again with partisan.
Can I make a point about
politics.
that, Sabby?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Stormy Daniels has a perfume line, right? And E. Jean Carroll was on the cover of Vogue and all those covers of magazines. Meanwhile, I'm getting Asylum in Russia. So you see the difference. There's a very stark difference of how one is treated compared to the other. But Sabby, I'm really concerned for the United States. I think Joe Biden is taking us quickly to World War III. And I think it's going to, we're coming up on an election year, but I think now, especially, they're getting desperate to distract from the economy, from the domestic problems. They're getting desperate to distract from him and his aging and his inability to even speak coherently. So I'm just worried because you know what happens with these kinds of people, they go for war, right?
Right.
So that's my concern for us all.
I agree 100%. What message would you send to people, Tara, someone who there are some, I believe, out there who are in a similar situation that you may have been in, but they have not spoken out? And what advice would you give to those people who maybe they have experienced some type of assault from a politician,
Mhm.
a big name politician, let's say, and they're afraid to say anything? What advice would you give to them?
At the end of the day, you have to do what's right for you and your family. But this was right for me to come forward, and I want to try to make it better so the next person behind me comes forward can speak out. It's essential. If we keep allowing the playbook, I call it, to silence whistleblowers or to silence people that are bringing attention to a crime that happened, we let them win, and they're continuing that behavior. They'll continue abusing and victimizing people, and that's not the answer. So part of being a survivor, but part of thriving, is empowering yourself. And so even though right now I'm sitting in Moscow, Russia, right now, unable to testify against the man who raped me, I know somehow, some way, there will be some form of justice for what he did. And I believe that what I did speaking out was the right thing to do. And I just wanted to take a moment, if I could, to also say to your audience, the misperceptions about Russia and about Moscow, Russia, just in general, is so amazing. I mean, I am living very comfortably, and it's a very beautiful city. Moscow, Russia the people are warm, and they do smile, and they're very excited to speak English when they can. They're not, remember to separate, like, whatever feelings you have about other countries' leaders. Remember how much propaganda we're given to create enemies to justify that military industrial complex. Try not to villainize the working people and the people of other countries and be xenophobic. Try to open, your minds a bit. All I can tell you is this is the most beautiful city, and the transportation is inexpensive and beautiful. It's like walking into a museum when you go to the metro. The food is incredible. Vladimir Putin decided a long time ago, watching the West, to ban Monsanto, like some European countries did, and ban pesticides. And so everything you eat is organic. I just feel healthier. I feel physically better. I've lost weight just eating what I normally eat because it's healthier food. You're not eating a box of chemicals. People, like I said, are really kind. You wouldn't know that there's sanctions because the economy is booming here. People are shopping. It's summertime, so people are outside. I've gotten to see Sochi, the Southern Caucasus, outside Moscow, and there's no homeless. There's very little. 80 to 90% of Russian citizens own their own home, not as a mortgage, but outright, and even a dasha, which is a vacation house, because it's affordable. Education is the equivalent. Like someone recently, I asked them how much their education was for a master's. It was $5,000 for the year, and they have an esteemed master's. I mean, some of the universities do charge some tuition, but nothing like the US. Medical, I just had a medical thing. It's free or it's very cheap. One of my medications is $800 a month because it's a heart thing. It's very specialized in the United States, and it's $800 a month for that medication. Here, it's $60. for 60 days. Same exact medication, same company.
This is the advice
So,
I would give to a lot of Americans who have not traveled. If you get the opportunity to travel, I highly think that you should do so. I mean, I've traveled most of my life, usually in the beginning, not by choice, because my parents were military and
yeah,
we had to be
Sabby, I
moving
don't
all the
think they
time.
want us to know like what a thriving middle class there is here in Russia and in some other countries. You know, and that there's medical care and education and that there's social nets and that people don't have to be homeless on the streets. You don't see drug abuse and homelessness on the streets here. So, you know, I mean, every country has its issues, right? Every country has its challenges, but I'm just telling you, I think the reason why they propagandize Russia so badly or so hard is because, you know, they're capitalistic, but they also take care of their people with their social safety nets. So it's working.
Mm. Yeah, I always tell people I know when I lived in Europe, it's very different than what you see in the United States. I don't remember seeing many homeless people either. It's just, it's a very different, they take care of their people, they take care of the community. But yeah, I highly encourage people to get out and travel if you can and just see the world and realize that, you know, there's so much more out there than what you see in the United States. And the point that you made about people, you know, making these assumptions that the people in that country are similar to their leaders, I would tell people like, do you want Europeans to think that we're all just like Joe Biden or we're all just like Donald Trump? No. I mean, we have our own opinions and our own views and our own beliefs.
Exactly. And you know, the other thing too is I want to come back to the reporters, you know, like I called out some people and I love them. But you have to understand, like I love Katie Halper and I love some of these people that I've met, you know, Crystal and I love Debris and some of these others, but but they need to be balanced. And what I like about what's happening with like Indie News Network and with like Reef and Indie and Misty and you is that you're actually an RBN is actually creating balance. Like you actually interviewed both people, you know, when there was a dispute in the People's Party, you know, you try to get balance with that. And so I'm not trying to like be confrontational. I'm just saying by not talking about me, it doesn't mean I don't exist, right? Like it's sort of like it's just kind of silly. We need to deal with this because otherwise the next person that comes forward about a Democrat, an elite Democrat, is they're gonna see how it worked with me and they're gonna just repeat it. Right.
That's a good point. Well, Tara, thank you so much for joining me. And where can people find you in the meantime?
TaraReadePodcast.com. And you'll see me Friday nights, usually. Well, Friday nights for me, I think it's during like 4:00 Eastern, 5:00 Eastern, at The Politics of Survival. And you can just find my work there on Twitter, Substack. So, and thank you so much for all your support, Sabby, and you know, staying in touch with me. I really appreciate it because it's been a little lonely. A lot of people have cut me off because I'm in Moscow, and you don't have to be afraid to get a hold of me. Please, I'm on Telegram. Telegram me. I'm here. So thank you, Sabby, because you've been wonderful at reaching out.